Hello, and welcome back to our weekly episode of the Just War Society. My name is Juan, and today we'll be talking about the Mexican-American War. Now, before we begin, I would like to just take a moment to go over the 6 requirements for a just war. Number 1. In order for a war to be just, the cause must be just. Number 2. In order for a war to be just, it must be lawfully declared. Number 3. The goal of a war must be to restore peace. Number 4. War must be a last resort. Number 5. A just war must have a good chance of success. Number 6. The goal of a just war must be to end suffering.
Now, the Mexican-American War happened because of one other event that was going on in the area, the Texas Revolution. Around 1820, American settlers started to move to the Mexican state of Texas. After living for several years underneath Mexican rule, they decided that they wanted independence. In 1836, the Texans formed an army and declared independence from Mexico. Shortly after, this army was crushed by the Mexican forces at the Battle of the Alamo. When the U.S. heard of this defeat, they were motivated to help the Texans. Many Americans joined the Texan army and vowed to help them. With "Remember the Alamo" being used as a battle cry, the Texan army defeated the Mexicans. Texas was officially recognized as an independent nation by USA, Britain, and France. After the Texas Revolution, Mexico still claimed much of Texas as theirs. This became a problem when Texas was officially annexed by the U.S. in December of 1845. After the annexation, a U.S. army entered the disputed area. This was followed by Mexico claiming all of Texas. Meanwhile, American settlers, assisted by the explorer John Fremont, declared independence in California. In May of 1846, Congress officially declared war on Mexico. The Mexican-American War was a war on several fronts. America's main forces were sent directly into central Mexico. Meanwhile, cavalry under Stephen W. Kearny attacked western Mexico. They were backed by an American naval force in the Pacific. An American naval blockade was set up and many Mexican port cities were taken. The Mexican army was not very motivated to fight. Many soldiers were underpaid and had little reason to fight the Americans. Therefore, desertion was a major problem. Also, the American army had state-of-the-art weapons while the Mexicans did not. Because of these reasons, by the fall of 1847, Mexico City was taken and the war was over. And now let's find out, was the war just? No. And to find out why, let's look again at the 6 tenets of a just war. Number 1. Cause must be just. Because Texas was originally part of Mexico, the U.S. declaring war on Mexico because Mexico wanted Texas back was extremely unjust. Number 2. Lawfully declared. Since war was declared by the governments of both sides, the Mexican-American War meets this tenet. Number 3. To restore peace. This one is debatable. If you saw an overview of the war, you would not think that the U.S. soldiers were on a peacekeeping mission. However, if the U.S. had not stepped in and attacked Mexico, many Texans may have been killed. I believe that the Mexican-American War meets this tenet. Number 4. Last resort. The Mexican-American War does not even come close to meeting this tenet. If the U.S. forces had simply defended Texas from the Mexican army, we may have had the same outcome. Mexico is not so intent on invading the U.S. that a full-scale invasion and conquest was necessary. Number 5. Chance of success. The Mexican-American War meets this tenet. At the time, the U.S. had a much greater military force than Mexico. Also, the U.S. did not have any trouble recruiting troops for their cause. Number 6. End suffering. This one is very similar to tenet number 3. If the U.S. had not attacked Mexico, many Texans may have been killed. However, this does not explain why American troops ransacked Mexican towns and villages, causing great suffering to those living in them. The Mexican-American War does not meet this tenet. And before we're done, I would like to leave you with a quote from President Ulysses S. Grant, who fought in the Mexican-American War. For myself, I was bitterly opposed to the measure, and to this day regard the war which resulted as one of the most unjust ever waged by a stronger against a weaker nation.